useful topics, including on balanced diet ones and lifestyle, but that was just an overview of it. And this time we just wanted to discuss the practical points, tips on how to practice a balanced diet, the problems associated with it. And if you have any queries, please put it in the chat box, or at the end we can have a discussion. I will share the screen now. Can you see my presentation?
Yes,
Hello.
sir.
This is the title that we have given, balanced diet and good lifestyle. We'll just touch upon what is meant by good lifestyle as well. Before we go to balanced diet proper, let us see the background in which this topic becomes relevant. If you look at all the causes of diseases, it is given here. Number one is lack of balanced diet, which in turn is due to lack of awareness or lack of empowerment for eating a balanced diet. And therefore, majority of people have one form or other malnutrition. Even the rich people have malnutrition. In fact, in one survey, we found that 98.5% do not even know what is a balanced diet. And then they have the same people who do not eat a proper balanced diet are exposed to poor lifestyle habits. They adopt the wrong postures at work and sleep and every activity. There is poor waste management and poor waste disposal habits. There is unsafe drinking water, and people make it safe themselves, but they do not drink enough water. And some of them obey personal hygiene. Sleep hygiene is not known to many. Sex hygiene is also not properly observed. The same people eat fast food, junk foods. They do not do any exercise. And they are also exposed to toxins in different forms through the fast food, junk foods, and also through some of them through tobacco and alcohol. And same people eat too much of carbohydrates. All these are the result of unchecked consumerism, and the same problem land them up in unmanaged stress also. And finally, because of a combination of these problems, or even any one of them in excess, can finally make a person a patient. But when you become a patient, we have excellent scientific management for all diseases, and we focus only on that. We give medicines, we repair some organs, or remove some organs, or replace at enormous cost. But unfortunately, the doctors engaged in these do not even have time to think of the social issues. Therefore, what we observe here is social health is actually a neglected orphan now. It's an orphan already, but it's totally neglected even. This is a real scenario which we need to address. And I will just briefly mention the important aspects of good lifestyle. What does it mean by that? Good lifestyle, the most important of which is eating a balanced diet every time we eat. And also having a plan to avoid overeating. We need to know how to avoid overeating. And we need to know what are the junk foods and fast foods and when to avoid it, how to avoid it, when to use it if at all. We need to ensure the safety of the drinking water. But all this should be supported by social security measures. We should have safe drinking water, and we should know how much water we need to take. We should know where to deposit, how to segregate, and we should have some kind of physical activity every day as a routine, not in health clubs. It should be part of our daily activities, and with no smoking, alcohol, or any kind of addictions. We should have organized plans for avoiding or protecting from accidents and injuries. Think before you act, principle. The posture we need to know at study, work, sleep, or travel. The hygiene, as I mentioned, personal hygiene, sleep hygiene, respiratory hygiene, safe sex hygiene, good work culture, loving the job that we are engaged in, and we should all have a plan to manage our stress. If you combine all these points, that means good lifestyle habit. But how do you achieve all these good lifestyle habits? First and foremost, we need to create awareness among every individual. That's possible through good primary education, with the excellent school health programs, if we have any, and that needs dedicated, trained family doctors who are accessible to every individual and families. Through them only, we can run even the school health programs can be run properly. And every individual should be made aware of all the good lifestyle habits, including balanced diet. That's not enough. The society has to be empowered to access and utilize all these good and practice all these good lifestyle habits. That includes educational, financial, agricultural, and civil reforms. Just to tell one example, if you want to eat a balanced diet, we need to have decentralized integrated farming promoted all over the country. Then only we will get access to all the necessary items. Civil supplies has to be proper, law, engineering departments all have a role in empowering the society to practice good lifestyle habits. Even the environmental engineering is very important. So these are issues of social security and human development. And therefore, it is true to know that if you want to practice good lifestyle habits, all the departments should be contributing their share of work to the healthcare of the people. And we can say all ministers must be health ministers as well. Because nobody knows what is a balanced diet, or they have no access to a balanced diet, or they have no money to buy a balanced diet, 99% I would say have some kind of malnutrition, one or other kind of malnutrition. Even this person is malnourished. Even obesity is a malnutrition. When we talk about malnutrition, incidentally, please mute, please mute. Unfortunately, people think only of starvation. These are extreme forms of malnutrition. Even these are in plenty everywhere. It may not be seen everywhere in Kerala, but if you go to Attapadi, you can find this. And some states, Chhattisgarh and all, you will find them in large numbers. Even rich people have it. So in fact, our most important problem is malnutrition. Why do we have more number of AIDS and tuberculosis in India and Africa? The only common thing you can pinpoint is malnutrition. This will be the shape of a person who develops AIDS in the marginalized societies. And that's not alone. Even non-communicable diseases are also due to some kind of malnutrition, resulting from unchecked consumerism and the consequent bad lifestyle, overeating, and unmanaged stress, including, and a lack of a balanced diet. What happens in these conditions primarily is excess carbohydrate ingestion in one form or other. Whenever we ingest carbohydrate, there is an insulin surge that leads to hyperinsulinemia. In the presence of insulin, lipogenesis is enhanced. Whatever excess carbohydrate that we eat, carbohydrate is like fuel in the fuel tank of a vehicle. You have to eat only what we need. If you eat in excess, it will be converted to fat. Because of insulin, lipogenesis happens, and it will also inhibit lipolysis. The excess fat which is already stored in the body will remain there. And the beta cells go on secreting insulin for a lifetime. Finally, they get exhausted. At one point, people start developing diabetes. So diabetes is actually due to continuous overeating for months and years together, continued physical inactivity for years together, and unmanaged stress for years together. If anyone has these three problems, they're bound to develop diabetes. But the kind of food they eat is always unbalanced. They're exposed to wrong foods. Finally, it is not just diabetes alone. We get a package of diseases. Many of us have even a combination of these. Some have even 4 or 5 of these. And finally, as a result, they develop chronic kidney disease, chronic liver disease, osteoarthritis, cancers, and autoimmune diseases. Now even secondary polycythemia. And even the unfavorable genetic mutations are occurring because of these wrong diet and lifestyle habits. So we produce a package of diseases by the unchecked consumerism and the poor lifestyle and diet habits. So what we have here is a combination of malnutrition and unchecked consumerism. It's a deadly combination. On one side, we have no balanced diet, and the same people are taking to alcohol and smoking, overeating of junk foods, excess carbohydrate, decreased exercise, unmanaged and increased stress, exposure to unwanted toxins, preservatives, colors, and flavors. And finally, we are number one in disease burden also. If you look at any disease, we are number one. And these are the package of diseases that we produce by all these bad habits. Do not forget infections to our lifestyle diseases. Because of poor environmental hygiene, poor waste management, or poor environmental engineering, we may allow the agents to multiply and provide an access to the body. The dose and virulence of the agent may be a deciding factor, but it's extremely rare to get a highly virulent agent entering a body in large doses. We may not be able to do much, but most of the time, 99% of the time, the agent, even if it is virulent, may be entering in small doses. So once the agent enters the body, it is the host who is going to decide what will happen to that agent inside the body. It will all depend on the lack of personal hygiene, maybe allowing entry into the body, but it is the diet and lifestyle of the individual who will decide whether that will produce a disease or not. So the focus should have been or should be in future also, whether it is COVID or tuberculosis, whatever it is, on the host, even for controlling infectious diseases. So why there is no balanced diet? The problems that we face are too many. 98.5% in a survey we found that do not even know what is a balanced diet. This we have proven by a study. People eat just for taste and appetite, often to full stomach, and they have several wrong concepts. Overeating is universal unless they are starving by chance. There are no clear guidelines in textbooks, and doctors are also not bothered about giving any guidelines. But the same people have access to several wrong information, false information, and they are not empowered to eat a balanced diet even if you tell them to eat it. And this is what recently this appeared in the Hindu newspaper. In Andhra Pradesh, a particular tribal family, their health, they found out that it is due to eating bamboo shoots. Now, you can imagine what is going to happen next. People will be in search of bamboo shoots, and there will be somebody who is selling it in powder form and capsule forms. These kind of quick fix remedies are the only thing that people are aware of now. This is a picture of nutrition practices in nutshell. People eat multiple carbohydrates followed by snacking on carbohydrate again and again. They do not eat the egg yolk, saying that it produces cholesterol. Egg white does not contain anything. Whatever good is there in the egg yolk only. They drink milk for protein, or they go for protein powders. They do not know what is the natural source of protein. Potatoes, yams, and pulses are vegetables in India. No, nobody knows that they are not vegetables. Puri bhaji combination. Coconut oil has become unpopular, and the people have shifted to palm oil and sunflower oil. It's not the oil that matters; it's how we use it. If you say there is hypokalemia or hypomagnesemia, people search for bottle preparations when these are available in plenty in vegetables and fruits. Micronutrients and antioxidants are used only in capsule forms. But even modern medicine doctors, some of them are reluctant in the name of scientific attitude. But the traditional doctors prescribe their unscientific preparations, justifying the use by quoting these scientific principles. But we fail to even recognize the scientific principles. Practical tips and social issues are never discussed to anyone, including the students. But we have enough knowledge on proteins, vitamins, minerals, their daily requirements. We also know about symptoms of deficiency and excess. Please mute. Please mute. Please mute. We have knowledge of symptoms of deficiency and excess of vitamins and nutrients, but we never discuss how to get these naturally, and all resorted to shortcuts like health drinks, which may be modern or traditional by some others. So what made me explore a healthy diet? In fact, I must tell that I have mentioned it before once, but I just wanted to tell this before I go to balanced diet proper. Being a chemistry graduate, I had a basic interest in metabolism and nutrition, and I studied concepts in nutrition with great expectation. But I found that they were complicated, theoretical, and difficult to practice. And I never got practical tips. No one taught, nowhere it is mentioned. But at the same time, I started listening to the Irish people writing in the newspapers and health magazines. But whatever they told was to avoid this or that, and that the patyam kind of attitude. But that whatever they told did not match with scientific principles in nutrition too. And then because of the unique opportunity that I got to work in a museum of disease at Calicut Medical College, where we used to see all kinds of patients, all varieties of patients. And I started studying their diet and lifestyle habits. And I found that all the patients, they had numerous wrongs in their diet. They all had nutritional deficiencies. Simultaneously, I started exploring the dietary habits of people who lived long, people who lived beyond 80, 90 years. And then I realized what is that problem and what creates the problems for us. In addition to that, I started traveling extensively across India and outside. Wherever I went, I studied the diet and lifestyle habits. And if it is outside, I studied their health systems, how it is functioning properly. Always my research also was focused on diet and nutrition. And I have been experimenting diet and lifestyle for 3 decades on myself. And in fact, I'm alive here to talk to you because I have reduced 10 kilogram weight at the age of 45. Otherwise, I would not have been here. The concept is almost clear now. And it is from multiple sources. And I cannot pinpoint any one particular reference because it is drawn from all the sources. And there is a need to disseminate that. That's why I keep on talking about balanced diet. The paradoxes that we see in balanced diet is no one knows what balanced diet is. But people are made to listen to alkaline diet, keto diet, and there are too many followers. These are all unscientific practices. But we doctors do not tell them what is the right kind of diet. There are some scientific principles in what they say, but we should know why they're telling and how we should translate it into scientific terms. Doctors fail to advise on balanced diet. We have left everything to dietitians. In fact, the dietitians are supposed to carry out the instructions that we prescribe to a patient on balanced diet. They're not supposed to prescribe diet to a patient. The traditional practice talk about it, and they think they know everything. They behave as if they know everything. But in fact, their knowledge is very poor. And it is not given in any single place. I need to combine all the goodness from everywhere, and that's what I have done. And that's what I'm sharing with you. In fact, there are tips everywhere. If we look for it, I managed to combine all these using scientific principles of nutrition, which I learned properly during my undergraduate days. So the concepts are a result of lifetime observations and studies because I managed all kinds of problems, including hematological problems in large numbers in poor patients, marginalized sections. And the remarkable benefit I've seen on improving their diet, even in neutropenic patients. And I studied diet in developed countries. In fact, I observed that they get essential items without being aware of it because the social practices allowed them to come in contact with a nutritious diet, which we have not done. They do not discuss practical tips, but the social practices allowed them to have access to a nearly total balanced diet. So I combined all the goodness in all the information collected. And that is why, in fact, my research started with my observation on vitamin D deficiency. Way back in 1993 itself, I noted vitamin D deficiency. And in a landmark study, we confirmed it. And the observation was directly pinpointing to nutritional deficiency. Vitamin D is absent in our diet. And without a vitamin D containing food in the diet, there's no point in exposing our skin to sunlight. We will not get vitamin D from sunlight unless we consume a vitamin D containing food item also. Then I had several studies on B12 deficiency. We had published a review article and several original studies also. And I have studies on non-communicable diseases, including reversal of diabetes, hypertension, and fatty liver. This was the first study on 10 kilogram tuberculosis and vitamin D deficiency. In fact, this was the first study, which unfortunately got published only in 2002. The study was done in 1999. In fact, this was the first study in the world. And the study clearly mentioned vitamin D deficiency is due to an issue of malnutrition, not due to sunlight exposure. And then the review article on same was published in Medicine Update 2012. And this is the causes and solutions to the deficiency. All are linked to malnutrition. And we wrote a review article with the help of my two resident doctors and a refocus on tuberculosis control by improving the nutrition rather than distributing medicines. Vitamin D and hypertension scenario, and of late, some 4 years ago, this was published as a review article. Everything points towards our malnutrition issues. Then after retirement, I had studies on reversal of diabetes, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and even hypertension. All this can be brilliantly reversed if we focus very well on diet and lifestyle. So this is the background on which I'm talking about balanced diet. Now we'll go to the topic proper, that is balanced diet. Let us have a concept on balanced diet, and let us give that concept to our patients and our fellow members regarding what to eat and what all to avoid, how much and how often to eat. In fact, we should know that a balanced diet is a primary medicine for all. Food is a primary medicine, and it has 5 components. For an Indian typical vegetarian diet, the 5 components are cereals, pulses, vegetables, fresh fruits, and water. But the pulses, please mute. The pulses can be replaced with fish, meat, egg, curd, or mushroom. But now I use milk as a source of protein, but you can use curd only. Cereals can be replaced with tubers like tapioca, yam, and potatoes. These are not vegetables at all. But in case you are using these tubers as a source of carbohydrate, the protein has to come from a complete protein like fish, meat, egg, curd, or mushroom. Never combine these roots and tubers with pulses. Cereals can be combined with any source of protein, but the protein intake should not be in excess. It should be there every time we eat. Vegetables should be the major bulk in any meal. It should be there every time we eat. People should be taught very clearly regarding what are the vegetables, how much they eat, how to eat, and fresh fruits only, not the dry fruits or boiled banana, and adequate water. All these 5 components with one source of protein, invariably, every time we eat together should be there, then only we may eat a balanced diet. The cereals and pulses ideally for a sedentary person is just 2:1, but that 2:1 is with, say, for example, 1 chapati and half that size pulses. If you eat 2 chapatis and 1 chapati size pulses, it will be too much. And if you are a lean person and you are doing heavy work, like people who are working in the field, they may go for 3:1. Like, for example, 3 chapatis and one chapati size pulses. So that is only for the lean person with heavy physical activity. But in general, this will be the approximate requirement for a sedentary worker. These are rough estimates only. At least we need to have rough estimates. All patients, everyone should identify the source of carbohydrates and calories. Carbohydrates, as I mentioned before, are like fuel in the fuel tank of a vehicle. So you should know when to have it, how much to have it, and every person has to individualize the need. There is no rule that one should eat 4 idlis or 4 chapatis at a meal. It should be individualized. The carbohydrate content has to be individualized. These are all sources of carbohydrate only. There's nothing superior about them. Now the star is jackfruit. There is nothing like that. Everything is equal. Maize, millets, oats, everything is same only. In fact, oats was once used for feeding horses. So I would say that horses only eat oats now. All of them are similar. But you can go for the cheapest, easily available, but use them only according to requirement. The quantity matters, the combinations matter, because the right amount of protein has to be combined. If you are eating these potatoes and yams, jackfruit, the protein has to be from a complete protein like fish, meat, egg, or curd, never combined with pulses. So that is what we need to know about the combinations. And cereals pulses, I mentioned, any of the cereals can be, any of the pulses can be used. None of them is superior, but use them only in moderation. That is 2:1, or at the most 3:1. Pulse, the reason for, scientific reason for combining pulses and cereals is the protein in the pulses is incomplete protein. One amino acid is deficient. Protein in cereals also is deficient in one amino acid. Luckily, these two amino acids are different. So when you combine them, you get complete all the essential amino acids, and it becomes a complete protein. But proteins in curd, mushroom, fish, egg, meat, and other seafoods, they are complete proteins, providing all the essential amino acids. So they can be used with any source of carbohydrate. This principle has to be taught to every individual. The complete proteins like egg, fish, meat, or egg, for an average person, it should be just one egg size only. That is 20 gram per day per meal. So our total will be around 60 gram, not at one time, but in distributed over 3 meals. Maximum 2 egg size protein only one should go for at a meal. Never go for excess protein. Excess protein also will produce problems. High fiber vegetables, every time we should be taking. And it should be there every time we eat. And an assortment of 3 or 4 or more vegetables is always better. It will provide several items which we need, and it will make it more palatable also. If you can afford at least one vegetable in adequate quantities should be there every time we eat. If possible, an assortment of vegetables, the avial, sambar, or salad kind of preparations, or even the thoran or peri kind of preparations. We need to combine all of them and eat enough vegetables at every meal to make them the major bulk of any meal. Never go make a carbohydrate as a major bulk in any meal, as it is seen nowadays in our hotels and the sadhyas. It can be taken raw if it is neat and clear, clean, or half-boiled, but do not overcook it. This is the only food item which we can take without much restrictions. The fear of pesticide is unwanted. Even if it contains pesticide, we should encourage our people to eat vegetables, because if they avoid vegetables, people are going to fill that space with the more poisonous excess carbohydrate. I would say that the excess carbohydrate, which is used to fill the stomach when the vegetables are absent, is more poisonous than the pesticide residue containing vegetables. So forget about the pesticides. Let us encourage the people to take vegetables and fruits. And it should be the first thing to eat so that the carbohydrate intake will naturally get reduced, and it will also protect the stomach. It will improve the GI motility, constipation, dyspepsia, all these problems, GERD, all will disappear when we take enough vegetables, and if you make it as the first thing in the meal. Fruits also should be there every time we eat. Unless we eat fruits, we are not going to get folic acid and vitamin C. Not only that, fruits produce soluble fiber. It is needed for the intestinal microbiota. The insoluble fiber present in vegetables is needed for the motility. Motility of the gut is very important for maintaining GI functions, including the gastrointestinal hormones. And the soluble fiber in vegetables, fruits, is supposed to maintain the intestinal microbiota, besides providing the vitamin C and folic acid. And again, if possible, an assortment of 3 or 4 fruits can be used, approximately size of an orange, but never use fruits to fill the stomach or to satisfy your hunger. And ideally, one should go for a seasonal whole fruit only, not processed and or even juice should not be made to while taking fruits. Juice is meant only for the edentulous people. Otherwise, it should be the whole fruit. It should be seasonal and fresh. And never take the dry fruits or boiled banana or canned or cooked fruit juices. You should not, there is no point consuming them. And again, it should be eaten prior to the meal, so that prior to the carbohydrate, so that the stomach is protected, and also we can reduce the excess carbohydrate. Without, and if by chance somebody has to make fruit juice for the edentulous people, one should not filter it, should not add milk or sugar to it. Filtering it will remove all the fiber content in the fruits. This is the picture that I have developed to educate patients on balanced diet. And this is now being circulated to patients and people have started following it. And you can see that there are 5 components, including 1 glass of water. This is a plate at each meal, but maximum 3 meals a day only. Every time we eat, this should be the proportions between different components. Carbohydrate minimum, and it should be the last thing and the least important. Take it as a last item. This should be the first 2. Water you can take before, during, or after meals, but including water, all the 5 components should be there. Major component has to be the vegetables, high fiber vegetables, and fresh, whole, seasonal fruits ideally, and 1 source of protein. The protein should not be in excess. Every time we eat, it should be there, and should not be fried also. So if you eat all these 5 components simultaneously in the right proportion, then we are eating a balanced diet. And this is the most important good lifestyle we need to practice and teach the people. And it will provide vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin A, riboflavin, B12, folic acid, everything, and antioxidants, besides the protein and fiber that we need. And this has to be the social practice, and we should teach and practice it. This is another picture which I use to educate my patients. Vegetables should be the major bulk in any meal. You can prepare a vegetable meal with a fresh raw fruit vegetables. You can make it safe for eating by adding an oil of your choice, because oil has got bactericidal activity. Or you can inside, along with that, you can add lime juice also. Otherwise, you have to steam it to make it safe for eating. Raw vegetables may not be safe in our country because it is prepared, stored, and distributed in unhygienic situations. So we need to make it safe either by adding oil or by steaming it. And then you can, at the time of eating, you can add fruits also to it. Even the protein can be added to it, like a whole protein, like egg, fish, or meat, to make a complete meal sometimes. So the expertise in kitchen, at least from our own, should be diverted to making vegetable meals. But even when we prepare vegetable meals, we need to count down the carbohydrates. Some vegetables and fruits may be containing excess carbohydrate. Raw coconut may be added to any of these dishes to make it tastier, or coconut milk including. These are some of the examples which I have shown to the patients. We can prepare any of these and should be the major bulk in any meal, anytime we eat. And to avoid overeating, never fill the stomach with whatever you eat, even if it is a balanced diet with high fiber vegetables. Never fill the stomach. Eat only to half the capacity of stomach, including water. The water you can take before, during, or after the other food items. Fresh fruits should be there, and protein, adequate protein only. Maybe you can take 1 chapati and half the size of that pulses, or you can take 1 egg or half the cup of curd, but now take milk as is also protein. And every time it should be maximum 3 meals only, half the capacity of stomach. That will avoid overeating also. There are some more tips for avoiding overeating and weight gain. Eat only when you are hungry, not just because it is 8 o'clock or 1 o'clock. It should be only when you are hungry. Stop eating once your hunger is satisfied. Never eat to full stomach. 2 meals a day is more ideal for weight reduction if somebody is planning weight reduction. And the last meal has to be at least 4 hours before going to bed. Never go to bed after a full stomach. If you are by chance late in eating for some reason, it's better to always go on an empty stomach to sleep. Maybe some water may be taken. Never eat carbohydrate and go to bed immediately after eating. And therefore, somehow or other, if you can plan an intermittent fasting, that is at least 12 hours per day, this is possible by eating the dinner at 6 or 7 o'clock and having the breakfast only after 7 o'clock, so that you can ensure 12 to 14 hours of fasting every day. This is the best intermittent fasting rather than observing fasting once a week or once in a year. And this will help reduce weight loss, and it will also upregulate the process of autophagy. Autophagy is an important physiological mechanism to to protect our body from diseases. There was a review article in a New England Journal of Medicine on autophagy and human diseases. It clearly has mentioned several important points. What we must know is it is a natural homeostatic process. It involves the sequestration of cytoplasmic components in autophagosomes. These structures subsequently fuse with the lysosomes. It's a mechanism to remove all the dead tissues. Defective autophagy is implicated in all diseases, including infections, autoimmune disease, cancer, metabolic, cardiovascular disease, and pulmonary disease. And autophagy is dysregulated in neurodegenerative disorders, including Alzheimer's, because the accumulation of autophagosomes is accelerated in these conditions because of defective autophagy. It has crucial roles in adaptive immune response. Antigen presentation, lymphocyte development depends on good autophagy. It can influence regulation of inflammation and immune system function. It contributes to regulation of innate and adaptive immune response. Several human pathogens are degraded in vitro by the autophagy process. Xenophagy is one mechanism of autophagy, or even virus and bacteria. See what is written in that review article. Autophagy is upregulated during starvation and aerobic exercise. So you can upregulate autophagy by fasting. You don't have to starve for long, only that intermittent fasting and exercise. These are the two mechanisms which upregulate autophagy. So let us adopt that. It helps several physiological mechanisms by that. This culture has to go. The fast foods have replaced regular food items, high calorie, sugary food items. We need to check the celebrities and advertisements to control this habit of promoting these unwanted food items. The cookery shows an obese person coming and demonstrating tasty food items to the people, making them eat the wrong foods and showing an advertisement on things which we don't need actually. So all these media are misleading us. The health drinks, biscuits, cakes, and protein powders, all ready to eat foods are fast foods only. Now, they are not made for our healthy living. They have to be used only when it is an emergency situation where you have no other choice, where you have no access to any other food items. As a last resort only, if at all once in a while you can take fast foods and junk foods, never use them regularly. One must be aware of some of the good or right combinations that we get at our major meals. Idli dosa is a very good combination because it contains rice and urad bean in 3:1 proportion. That's the right combination. But never eat more than 1 or 2 idlis at a time unless you are a heavy manual labor. Appam with rice, appam made of rice with one dal or one egg or fish or meat of that size is a good combination. Puttu that is made of rice with green gram or Bengal gram is a good combination. Puri with one dal or egg or curd is a good combination. Chapati or roti with dal or curd or egg is a good combination. Or at major meals, it may be the rice with the sambar if the sambar is made of vegetables. But the sambar should not be containing too much of pulses or too much of potato and all and yams. Most of the time, sambar also is made of carbohydrate now. Or avial. This will provide the vegetables and protein you will get from dal and curd. In fact, our popular sadhya contains vegetables in good amounts provided it is made properly and eaten properly. Chapati or roti with dal or curd or egg, as I mentioned. Kanji par is a good combination, green gram with rice. Jackfruit, if you are eating as a source of carbohydrate, should be combined with meat, fish, egg or curd, not with the pulses. Tapioca also, if you are eating, it should be with meat, fish, egg or curd, not with the pulses. But along with these two sources, always there should be adequate fruits and enough vegetables and adequate water. So then only it will become a balanced diet. One should be cautioning people on the wrong menu. The popular wrong menu that we see is puri bhaji. Both are just carbohydrates only. If bhaji was vegetables, if you had combined some pulses or curd, it would have become better. Appam and potato stew is a very, very bad combination. Puttu is very often eaten with sugar or boiled banana. Banana, if at all, is good combination, provided you take one pulses or another source of protein, provided the banana is raw banana. Tapioca with green gum is another popular combination during fasting season. Raw banana with green gum is another popular combination during the fasting season. Lunch, very often, many people eat with potato curry only. Rice with some one of the yams, chena, chamber, kind of thing. Jackfruit, very often people eat with pickle only. Tapioca, they may be eating with pickle, or they may combine with rice, just carbohydrate only. And along with that, they may be eating junk foods, fried foods as a side dish. This is the kind of food most people are eating these days. Even the hostels, popular hostels, if you study the food habits of people living in, students living in hostels, even doctors living in hostels, you will find that it's miserable. They don't get any balanced diet. So finally, the point which we need to take care of, we need to focus on behavior changes to avoid overeating and to get a balanced diet. Avoid eating for fun. That will avoid the overeating habit. No animal, no other animal does that. Man is the only animal which eats for fun or gives food as or use food as an entertainment. Do not use food as a symbol of affection everywhere. Use it only when the person is hungry or starving. Do not offer food unnecessarily, especially the carbohydrates. Do not gift these sweets and sugary items. Give, if at all, you gift only fresh fruits and vegetables. This kind of behavior changes might help us. These are more tips to avoid weight gain and overeating. Avoid all fast foods if there is an alternative to it. Eat them only as a last resort. Avoid all sugary foods, fried foods, and avoid snacks. If at all, you may use fruits as a snack. Avoid sedentary lifestyle habits. Reduce carbohydrate further when changing over to a sedentary work. So for example, during lockdown, people were held up at home and they were eating carbohydrate. And I have seen a minimum weight gain of 2 kilograms, and it went up to 22 kilograms in 2 of my patients. They were just eating carbohydrate. So when you are going to a sedentary work from a previously physically active work, we need to know that we have to cut down on the carbohydrate intake. This simple lesson is not taught to anyone. So all these measures will prevent and control diabetes and the non-communicable diseases. And by chance you are focusing on weight reduction with a proper dietary advice, give them a precautionary message. People will laugh at you when you reduce even 2 kilograms. Be prepared for that. We should laugh inside when people say that, what happened to you? You look very tired. What they mean by tiredness is because that excess fatty appearance, the round face has become lean. The people who are not aware of healthy living habits will say, what happened to you? And they should be laughing inside when somebody asks like that. They should be cautioned about these things. And regarding the oil, no oil is superior. Any edible oil, it should be edible oil, that's all. It is used to improve taste or to destroy germs while eating raw. You can use coconut oil, olive oil, or ghee, or any of them. But the only point is, olive oil has some superiority because even at a very low temperature, it remains liquid. That's the only advantage. Otherwise, in India, Kerala especially, coconut oil is more than enough. But by chance you are eating ice cold food, if you want to add oil, it has to be olive oil. Otherwise, coconut oil will get frozen. The only point is the oil which remains as liquid at room temperature is the one which we have to choose. But avoid frying with any oil. Suppose you are using olive oil for frying, you are actually doing more harm than good. And there is no need to add extra oil as a mandatory item to any food item because people will say that oil has to be a part of a natural diet, balanced diet. You don't have to add it by plan because every food item that we eat contains some oil. That's enough for the body. But you can add oil to make it tasty or to improve or to destroy the germs, but count on the calorie factor because 1 gram of oil or fat is around 7.5 calories, almost 2-3 times the calorie of 1 gram of carbohydrate. And these are the advantages of eating a balanced diet. It prevents several diseases. It modifies the course of all diseases and promotes recovery from illnesses. And it prevents infections. It prevents non-communicable diseases because On one hand, it will reduce the carbohydrate. On the other hand, it will provide all the necessary items, including the micronutrients, antioxidants. And even the genetic disorders, the new mutations can be prevented. And the epigenetic influence of these proper dietary habits will modify the abnormal genes, even the expression. For example, if you go to Wayanad, the people with sickle cell disease, the people who are better off live a longer life. They are better than the some group of people, marginalized people. So it is dietary habits are going to change it. And finally, it will reduce morbidity and mortality. It will reduce all these diseases like ischemic heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, cancers, and autoimmune disease. It will also help in managing our capacity to manage stress. If you are eating balanced diet every time, it will also improve our capacity to manage stressful situations. So look at the advantages and practice it regularly. But that's not enough. Even today, I had to tell a patient in the hospital to open the windows. They are closing all the windows and keeping mask, not even breathing oxygen while they're admitted with serious illnesses. They're not aware of the need for ventilation in the rooms where they stay. But enough ventilation is not possible just by cross ventilation alone. They have to keep the windows open. You will get enough oxygen only if you have a lean body habitus. If your chest wall is thick, it's like inflating a thick balloon, thick sized balloon. It will not get inflated easily. So you have to be having a thin body habitus without much of fat around the chest wall. And we need to exercise also to get adequate oxygen. The ideal exercise that people should be taught is the one which makes you panting for breath, breathless and sweating. And that's not enough. We need enough plants and trees and forests to provide oxygen around us. And we need to have safe drinking water through public distribution system, and people should be taught about how much water they need to take. It's not enough that some naturopaths will say water you take only when you are thirsty. It is possible to ignore thirst. So let us tell them that you need to take this much water, and we need to produce at least 1.5 liters of urine, and the water can be taken along with meal, before meal or after meal. That is your choice. But do not decide water intake by thirst alone. Even today, I found a patient with hyperuricemia and renal damage. He was just taking only 3 glasses of water per day. We forget these social issues. That's why I said in the beginning that social health has become a neglected orphan. We have not provided safe drinking water for all. Even now, we have to depend on this dirty boiled water, even if it is distributed as Divya Jal. It is not Divya Jal. It is something which we should give up, and it's going to damage our environment too. So we have to use technology with common sense. Technology without science and common sense is destroying us. So the numerous cures and remedies that we offer for diseases, including COVID-19, has failed to see the real problems, the malnutrition, poor lifestyle. It is comparable to 6 blind persons palpating an elephant. You arrive at your own conclusions and then recommend solutions, including antibody cocktail, when it would have been managed easily by modifying diet and lifestyle, because it was COVID, including COVID, was a common viral infection. It's not a lethal disease. People with problems only had serious issues. So for that, to look at that problem in the proper manner, we need 360-degree vision for individual care and for public health. And this you can combine only in GPs and family doctors. Nobody else will get a 360-degree vision, even if they want to get it. But unfortunately, we do not have any of these kind of doctors now. In the name of science, we fail to see the macro issues, and they're linked to microscopic issues like vitamin D deficiency. Vitamin D deficiency is not to be solved by giving vitamin D supplements or by sunlight. We need to provide balanced diet. So let us be aware of the social determinants of health. Most important is good agriculture habits. It's agriculture. It's a culture we have to emulate, propagate, and practice when possible. Decentralized, integrated farming. That's what we have to practice. Every cent of unused land can be used for it. And the primary education should transform every child into good human beings. to instill humanness, good primary education should be there. We need large number of family doctors to educate people on the basic issues, and we need to provide safe drinking water. Please mute. And we need to provide good waste management and educate people on segregating their waste. Provide shelter for all, sanitation, good lifestyle habits should be taught to everyone. All these are possible, and these are called social determinants of health. And this has become an orphan in India, a neglected orphan in India. That's why we have become number one in diseases. And all these are possible only in a corruption-free society. And that is another point we need to know. Look at a better model of healthcare. An example of a better model. This is the Denmark, one of the Scandinavian countries. Look at the main railway station in Copenhagen. They promote bicycle as the most important mode of transport. You can travel throughout that country on a bicycle, and every road in that country has a cycle path and a footpath separate, and they provide enough public places, and you can travel on a bicycle in the entire country. By chance you want to break your journey, you can get in the bus or train. There is a separate place earmarked for people traveling with bicycles. And you need to park your cars outside the city, and inside the city you have to use the bicycles. That will also reduce the pollution, saves fuel, and promotes exercise. So these kinds of strategies are needed for even promoting exercise, not only for balanced diet, not only for safe drinking water, not only for waste management. So social issues are more important. So with the awareness on balanced diet, I will tell who all are vulnerable to COVID-19. Those who do not eat a balanced diet and therefore are deficient in vitamin D, folic acid, B12, B6, vitamin C, and vitamin A. These people are obviously vulnerable. And the people who do not take enough water, and we do not have safe drinking water. People are overweight or obese, and who the fast food lovers. During lockdown, these people were made more vulnerable. And then we called it post-COVID syndrome. They're not exposed to exercise. And they were, in fact, not doing exercise also increased during the lockdowns. And the stress went on increasing because we gave only frightening messages. There was no reassuring message from anyone. Doctors are supposed to console people rather than creating more and more panic. And people were unable to manage their stress. We were actually adding oil to fire. And the same people took to alcohol and smoking, and finally they already those heart subclinical diseases were unmasked. And again, we wanted to call it as a post-COVID syndrome. To beat COVID-19, at least in future or now, what we should do, eat a balanced diet, avoid weight gain. Or if you're overweight, lose your excess weight. Use carbohydrates sparingly, depending on your physical activity. If you're already overweight, skip them till the ideal weight is achieved. But you should know how to plan your diet. Take enough water and ensure adequate urine output. This is one of the causes for deep vein thrombosis syndrome. Achieve weight reduction not by keto diet, but with a balanced diet. The keto diet is another unwanted practice. Avoid all the junk foods, fast foods, and artificial colors and flavors. Do some physical activity every day and get some sunlight also. Ensure adequate rest and sleep. Good orodental hygiene has to be ensured to prevent the pneumonias. And if needed, you may take some vitamin supplements with the vitamin D 500 to 2000, not in massive doses, with calcium. And also supplement B1, B6, B12, and folic acid with vitamin C as daily supplement if you have any infection or if you're not taking a balanced diet. And manage your stress. Do not do anything to increase the stress. Doctors should be consoling always. The wrong diet and poor lifestyle were responsible for all the problems we witnessed in COVID. Let us start changing it. Earlier the better. Nothing will happen. We can stay safe if we take care of us. To fight any disease, beside diet, inquire on modify other lifestyle habits also. We need to teach other good lifestyle habits and assess their activities. This is possible only by assessing their activities over 24 hours, the type of exercise, the duration, the intensity of it, the addictions, habits, and doctors should promote good diet and lifestyle and also give a stress management plan. So if you look at all these good lifestyle habits which I mentioned, to educate people on balanced diet, we need family doctors and good agriculture and proper distribution, civil supplies. Avoiding overeating, we need to give tips to people. Again, we need family doctors. Avoid junk foods and fast foods to educate people on what it is, how to avoid, we need to have family doctors to educate the people to create awareness. And then we need to control the advertisements, sugar industry and celebrities. Safety and adequacy of water, education awareness by family doctors should be provided through potable water has to be made available through the pipes. We need to have a public health engineering department, not just a water authority. Proper waste disposal habits. Again, people, the healthcare workers under the guidance of family doctors create awareness, and we have to provide good waste management in the background. Physical exercise daily. We need to provide footpaths, cycle paths, parks, and playgrounds, and educate people on the need for it and how to use it, when to use it by family doctors. No smoking, alcohol addictions, and no amount of alcohol is safe. Again, people have to be educated on that. Rather than banning alcohol, we need to educate the people, and that is also possible only with family doctors. Plans for avoiding, protecting from accidents and injuries. People need education regarding that. Again, it is possible only with trained family doctors. The postures, people need family doctors to educate. Hygiene, both personal sleep, respiratory, sexual health, gender empowerment, all these need family doctors who work as friend, philosopher, and guide. And people should be taught about or educated about good work culture and loving the job. This is possible only by good social security and good primary education, transforming every individual into human beings. And people should be taught to how to manage stress, because there is no life without stress. And so primary stress management is possible only with social security and human development. And the tips for that, managing stress in individual has to come from family doctors. So these are the adaptive response stress. We need to manage it rather than running away or fighting against or get frozen. These are some of the tips to manage stress. Enjoy the work, enjoy what you're doing, choose what you enjoy doing, time management, avoid smoking, alcohol, overeating, balanced diet, and good lifestyle helps in managing stress. And managing stress is also possible with these good habits. But meditation, prayers are meant for that only. Physical exercise also helps in managing stress. But we need to provide open spaces for doing exercise rather than providing health clubs. Health clubs are like fast foods only. And social empowerment is the key. It is impossible to modify diet and lifestyle in patients alone. The whole family must be involved. Whole society must be involved. Infections, non-communicable diseases, genetic disorders, they are all outcomes of social issues. Social empowerment is the only answer. And it is possible only with good primary education, primary healthcare, and good agricultural practices. So patient empowerment is basically social empowerment. We need to have a large number of family doctors to do that basic job. Don't be afraid that we will become jobless by focusing on these patient education work, because the health is a relative state. Now we are dealing with below ground level, real damage repair work. When they are healthier, you will be dealing with the healthier people having a different set of problems. Doctors will never become jobless, especially if you are a generalist or a family doctor. So we need family doctors as friend, philosopher, and guide to all individuals. We need to accept goodness in all the countries using science. Indian practice of boasting of our tradition is a disaster to us. So these are our major issues, and social and public health is an off in India. Our priorities we forget, we need to change that. The present scenario is that illness or sickness has become more common than wellness and happiness. But it's not confined to India alone, but India has a major burden, larger burden. So what we need is a stable health pyramid, provide social determinants, reduce disease burden, provide family doctors to every individual, then general hospitals, the hospitalist doctors, and specialists in very few numbers. So let us make balanced diet a social practice by all the points which I mentioned. And that's the only way to tackle all the issues. Let us remember the greatest discoveries of modern medicine. We forget the greatest discoveries of modern medicine now. In fact, these are the structure and functions of different organs and tissues of human body. Our forefathers did so many, they took so many pains to dissect the human body, understand the anatomy, then the circulation by William Harvey, metabolic pathways of carbohydrate, fat, and proteins, discovery of structure and functions of vitamins, symptoms of deficiency, excess of nutrients, deficiency and excess. Do we use this information? But we are madly after technology only. But unfortunately, who are using this information now? the traditional people to sell their traditional products. They are quoting these principles. And we do not even mention these to our patients. We think that we can repair everything with shortcuts and repair works. We have the potential. I just wanted to show this only to tell that we have the potential, like these Air Force people, we have the potential. We should do that, show that potential in the ground to change India for a better world, for a better India. So in fact, most of the things which I mentioned is also given in this book. It contains some 60 or case histories mentioned about clinical skill and the problems in COVID management. Even balanced diet is mentioned there. And in fact, what made me write this book was the COVID media attack on me. I thank them for doing that social media attack on me. Thank you. Thank you for patient hearing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your excellent presentation regarding balanced diet and good lifestyle. Sir has also explained how he achieved this great knowledge in depth regarding diet and lifestyle. Then now you can unmute and ask if you have any queries. Otherwise, I will read from the questions from chat box.
Any questions in the chat box?
Yes, sir.
No, please. Is keto diet advisable? Which is better, eating at regular intervals or intermittent fast? Keto diet, there is nothing actually called a keto diet. When you are on, if you are an overweight person and if you restrict your carbohydrate, naturally ketosis will occur. If you want, you can call it as a keto diet. You don't have to feed excess fat to produce a keto diet. Ketosis. Ketosis is a natural process. Whenever you restrict carbohydrate, and it's wrong to call it as a low carbohydrate, high fat diet. It's a wrong principle. You can change it in a different way, low carbohydrate and high fiber diet. And it will be, if you want, you can call it keto diet, but actually it is unscientific to call it a keto diet. Because keto diet means you're deliberately increasing fat intake and restricting carbohydrate to increase ketosis. You don't have to produce ketosis artificially by feeding excess oil. It is not advisable, but go for the balanced diet with very little carbohydrate or no carbohydrate. When you are avoiding carbohydrate, you have to go for a complete protein. That's the only point you have to keep in mind. Then is dyslipidemia cause for?
Is dyslipidemia a cause of concern? Everybody ends up eating lipid profiles at regular intervals. What's your opinion?
In fact, it is a mad phenomenon these days because popularized by the National Cholesterol Education Program of the USA. We should be telling our people to eat egg rather than checking cholesterol every time and now and then when they come to consultation. Then, in fact, they can be asked to buy a weighing machine and check their weight daily, and rather than checking dyslipidemia every now and then. In fact, statin is one of the most misused medicines in the modern times. I never use statins in controlling dyslipidemia. I can't even remember one patient where I use it. Very rarely only I prescribe it, and you can manage all the dyslipidemias by modifying diet and lifestyle. This is one message I would like to give at this point. It is because cholesterol, dyslipidemia is a result of excess carbohydrate that you eat. The source of excess lipid is the excess carbohydrate. It's not the cholesterol in egg. This is one simple message we have passed on to the patients. Next question.
Is intermittent fasting more than 12 hours advisable?
More than 12 hours
more
also
than 12 hours.
Advisable. More than 12 hours, up to 14 hours is enough. Exceptionally, some people can do it, but it's not as a health advice. Up to 14 hours is enough.
Fruits in every
What should
meal
be an ideal
in
weight for the? Actually, fruits should be there in every meal in diabetics. There is no diabetic diet. This is a wrong approach. Diabetics should not be prescribed a special meal. The only thing they should be told is to avoid or restrict the carbohydrate. But they should not be on a hypoglycemic agent. They should only be on metformin if they are an overweight type 2 diabetic. It's actually a wrong practice to prescribe hypoglycemic agents in an overweight diabetic, whether it is sulfonylurea or insulin. We have to restrict carbohydrate only and provide only enough high fiber vegetables with a complete protein and one source of fruits in moderation, and restrict all the carbohydrate, use only metformin till they achieve the desired weight loss. That is the best method of managing type 2 diabetes who are overweight. And I think that was the point.
Thank you, sir.
Corresponding
height.
What would be the ideal weight for the corresponding height? Actually, that ideal weight varies from person to person. You can find out the ideal weight for an individual by studying that individual. For example, if you are very lean at after completing your growth, say at the age of 18 or 20, you complete your skeletal maturity. At that point of time, if you are perfectly healthy, otherwise very active, happy, not having any disease, at that point, if your body mass index is 18, that is your normal weight. Even 1 kilogram excess from that is going to do harm to you in the long run. So the ideal weight is not entirely dependent on height alone. It also depends on the individual. Anyway, one can calculate the ideal weight based on height. If you can tell your height, I can tell the approximate ideal weight. It has to be individualized. For example, a person of 160 centimeter, the ideal weight is 50 kilograms. Then ideal weight based only or on BM, same question only. Okay.
Curd at night is not recommended.
Isn't calcium good? There's nothing like that. You can take curd. In fact, even I take curd. There is nothing wrong in that. Curd, only thing, it should not be the ice cold one. Keep it at, for some time to bring it to the increase the temperature, not ice cold curd. But anyway, you are going to take it along with the vegetables and fruits. There's no harm.
Thank you, sir. For diabetic patients, what will be the ideal cereal pulse ratio, sir?
For a
diabetic patient, what will be the ideal cereal pulses ratio?
Diabetic patients is a very difficult situation when you are giving pulses and cereals. It should never be more than 1:2. Or even if you can say, for example, 1 idli is more than enough for a diabetic person. More than enough. 1 idli is more than enough. 3 idlis for a day. And rest of it comes, you will have some protein from the milk that you add to the tea. Milk added to the tea is different. Milk taken directly is a different protein. So you can, anyway, you will have some protein from the milk that you add to the tea or coffee. And 1 idli is enough for a diabetic if you want to control it properly. And the bulk has to come from vegetables. Or 1 chapati is more than enough. 1 appam is more than enough. Never eat more than 1 chapati or appam or dosa. Curd at night. Any other point?
How much oil can be taken daily?
Oil, there is no specific quantity. You have to count on the caloric factor. If you are taking oil, you have to reduce the carbohydrate proportionately. And you have to look at the weight. If you are gaining weight, you are eating more calories. There's no strict rule like that. If you need extra calories, you can depend on oil itself as a source of calorie. That's a keto diet some people are popularizing. There's no rule like that. It all depends on our requirement. Carbohydrate is a easily available source of energy, but you can use oil also or fat also as a source of energy, but provided you use it. If you are not using it, it's going to be deposited finally as fat only. And there is one question. Any specific dietary advice for overweight people for short-term extra weight loss? This has to be this is possible by an individualized diet plan. What I do is, I take their height, weight, and study their diet in detail, including each item, which protein they take, how often they take, how much vegetable they take, how often they take, how much fruits and how often, how much water, each item separately, and then modify that diet plan by stopping all the carbohydrates. If that person is consuming fish, meat, egg, and cod, it is very easy to stop all the carbohydrates. And then give only vegetables meal. A pure vegetable meal with a complete protein and fruits is the best way to lose weight. I have made some people lose up to 30 kilograms. It's not a difficult thing, but you have to have some plan and close monitoring. The patient needs review at least 4 times with family members to get it done. The patient alone will never do it. Always ask the patient to come with family members. Educate the family together on diet modification. Nobody can change the diet on himself or her own. At least 2% has to be involved. In fact, ideally, the whole family has to be involved in the diet plan. Otherwise, you will never be able to succeed in achieving the weight loss.
Sir, isn't milk is a
Yeah.
good source of calcium? So can we
Which
include in
meal?
diet of elderly females and children? Milk.
Calcium, if you eat a balanced diet, you will get enough calcium. But because of as age advances, because of some changes in the reabsorptive capacity and metabolic capacities, calcium may not be available adequately. So it's always better to supplement calcium also. But make sure that they eat a calcium-rich food like curd and the proteins which are rich in calcium. Almost all the proteins provide calcium. But calcium and vitamin D, you will get only if you eat enough fruits and vegetables, because magnesium is needed for the metabolism of vitamin D. So unless you provide vegetables and fruits, they will not get enough calcium. Magnesium is needed for that. Any other
Thank you,
point?
sir. Substituting millets for rice, is it good for diabetes?
Not at all. If you are residing in Attapadi and they are producing millets, and if it is available as a cheap source of cereal, you can eat that. It is a quantity that matters. Fiber you have to anyway get from vegetables. We must know how much to eat at each meal. Depending on our physical activity, you can go for any carbohydrate that of your choice. You can go for jackfruit, you can go for millets, you can go for ragi, you can go for rice or wheat. None of them is superior or inferior. It all depends on the quantity and the combinations.
Sir, what about suggesting wheat-based food like chapati?
These are some of the myths that people follow. Americans now believe that chapati is wheat is the cause for diabetes. Because their major cereal is wheat. Indians think that rice is the cause for diabetes. So the answer is there in that observation alone. So it is a quantity that matters. There is no need to change to wheat.
Thank you, sir. Can a low-carb diet reverse diabetes?
Definitely, we can reverse diabetes, provided you catch early. It is not at all a difficult job. It has to be done urgently. Otherwise, we are going to have a pandemic of diabetes after the post-COVID scenario. Any other?
Is there any chance for pure vegetarian to get any specific dietary deficiency in the long run?
Definitely, they will have beetle deficiency. Pure vegetarians never get any beetle these days. Beetle, for a pure vegetarian, the only way to get beetle is green leafy vegetables. But our people are afraid of pesticide and they wash it in vinegar and repeatedly they wash it in salt water, and finally there is no, because it is the harmless bacteria on the vegetables which give you beetle. So unless you eat regularly green leafy vegetables, vegetarians will never get beetle. That is a point we have to tell all the vegetarians in India. In fact, we are drowning in beetle deficiency. Beetle has to be supplemented to all the vegetarians, and some of them may not be absorbing it. Therefore, we may have to go for parallel preparations. Beetle deficiency is mismanaged, misdiagnosed, underdiagnosed always here. Anything else?
Maximum BMI for an Indian.
There is there's nothing like that. The BMI for an ideal BMI upper limit has to be 23. but the lower limit can be 18 also. I had a very senior judicial officer who was weighing only, whose BMI was only 18.5 when he came with a high cholesterol value. And he was getting statin for years together, and he has started developing muscle cramps and all. Then I found that after getting a transfer from Ernakulam to Calicut, he stopped whatever exercise he used to do, and then he put on 2.5 kilogram excess, and that's why the cholesterol went up. And I reduced his weight, and I'm telling you this after 7 years. This was when I was in the medical college. And even now, he's very healthy, not taking any statins. So the ideal BMI varies from person to person. For a given person, it may be even 18. Don't go for the upper limit, go for the lower limit. Then there is a personal doubt. I am 152 centimeter, now 42 kg. For 152 centimeter, 42 is more than enough. Now that increase of 44 kg should be reduced to 42. For 150 centimeter, you can even become 40 kg.
There is a low carb diet, balanced.
Do not listen to the advice by some people to gain weight. They are because you are surrounded by overweight people. They think that you are abnormal. They are the abnormal people. That's what you have to know. Anything else? What was the question?
Is low carb diet balanced?
Low carb diet can be balanced. That is what you have to do when you are trying to achieve weight loss, weight reduction. It has to be a low carb diet, and it has to be vegetable only with very little carbohydrate or no carbohydrate. When there is no carbohydrate from cereals, you have to go for a complete protein. That's all. You can make it balanced. Carbohydrate need not be there to make a balanced diet, provided you are on a weight reducing diet. If you need carbohydrate for your exercise, then you have to go for one of the source of carbohydrate, but you have to choose that protein rightly based on the scientific principles. Washing vegetables in vinegar or salt water. Never wash your vegetables. That's what I will advise. If it is dirty, you can remove the dirt. Otherwise, vegetables should not be washed. They will become safe by heating. The bacteria on the vegetables is going to give you B12 at least. Pesticide residue you should be ignoring rather than giving it too much importance. The people who educate on pesticide on vegetables and fruits is really doing a damage to society now. Anything else? Any other question?
No more questions in the chat box. If you have any queries,
thank
please
you.
ask. Otherwise,
Any question
we'll
directly?
wind up the
Any
session.
question? Ask. Any question directly? Otherwise, we'll wind up.
Okay, sir.
Vitamin B12.
Can we wind up?
Okay. Vitamin B12. Please ask.
Hello.
Hello, please.
Vitamin B12, can it be supplied by mecobalamin tablets?
No, that is a point. Very important question. That's a very important question because there are two active forms of B12. One is methylcobalamin, other is adenosocobalamin. If you use methylcobalamin, which is required for rapidly metabolizing tissues, it will not be converted to adenosocobalamin. So if you want to provide B12 properly for all the functions of B12, it has to be cyanocobalamin or hydroxocobalamin. Unfortunately, in India, there are only very few preparations, and because they are cheap, nobody is interested in marketing them. So go for cyanocobalamin or hydroxocobalamin. These are the only ideal preparations of B12 supplementation. Hope it is clear.
So what we have in clinical practice, we are given injection mecobalamin, and the patient's hemoglobin and the patient has become better in megaloblastic anemia.
I'll tell you, it will help in anemias. It will help 50% of the action. The problem comes, the B12 deficiency can have one of the numerous manifestations of the presentation. One patient may come with anemia alone, another may come with undiagnosed neurological problems, and these neurological problems will not improve with methylcobalamin. That's a problem. The same patient could be having subacute combined degeneration. It will not improve. You have to give hydroxycobalamin or cyanocobalamin if the patient has to improve all the deficiencies of beta. You will definitely achieve hemoglobin with methylcobalamin. That is true.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other?
No more questions. Can we wind up?
Please, thank you. Thank you for the patient hearing.
Now I am inviting Dr. Adira Devadas, our junior resident from Department of Family Medicine, for the vote of thanks.
Am I audible, Shibirta?
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Today, the topic of discussion is very relevant, considering the current scenario where lifestyle diseases are emerging as a slow pandemic. Even as doctors do not follow a healthy, proper balanced diet or proper lifestyle, largely due to lack of proper knowledge about the same. It is ironic considering that every essay or every short note that we answered in our exams on management of some or other diseases, we have written at least one point regarding proper diet and lifestyle modification. The lack of knowledge may be due to the way we were taught in our MBBS curriculum, which didn't give much stress on the subject of proper balanced diet. Of course, we knew that our diet must include carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, and minerals. But most of us had no idea on how to apply that knowledge practically in our daily lives or daily meals. So this class has enlightened us on the practical aspects of how to follow a healthy, balanced diet with our own food habits at no extra expense. This is particularly important in a country like India, where we most often deal with patients who are from a lower socioeconomic status, so that we can prescribe a diet for them which they can afford. As Saur always mentions, we could use every opportunity when a patient comes to us, be it for a running nose, we can use that opportunity to educate the patient regarding proper balanced diet, because our roles as family physicians or generalist doctors is to prevent the diseases in the first place. So on behalf of the Department of Family Medicine and personally, I thank our teacher, Dr. P.K.Sasidharan sir, for such a valuable and wonderful session. And I can't think of a more suitable person for the subject, because after listening to the way he has acquired such in-depth knowledge about the nutrition and diet. With every talk or every class, you always inspire all of us in ample different ways, and today was no exception, sir. It has been such an honor to be a student of yours. Thank you so much, sir. I thank our senior residents, Dr. Shabira and Dr. Asni, for organizing such series of sessions. I also thank our audience for taking such an initiative to understand the roles and benefits of balanced diet and passing that knowledge to their patients, and for being such an active participants in the discussions with their insightful questions and all. Thanking everyone once again. Let us hope for having such sessions in the future also. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you. There is one question. Is it going to be a recurring meeting? I think we can have one more session dedicated to diet specific questions like this. If you can send the questions beforehand to answer all the queries. If you have any queries, please send it to our department, Dr. Shabira, Dr. Asni, or Dr. Adira, any one of them. Thank you. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.